Welcome and hello, hello and welcome, guys. Welcome and hello, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me on this very, very special edition of Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. Would like to thank you for tuning in here on your holiday break. Hopefully, you guys don't have to work, but if you're anything like me, you probably do because you're a big fat schmuck. You're a heel. You didn't get that promotion. You're probably just grossly incompetent, lazy, stupid. You know, there's a reason why things aren't looking up for us, and we're here chasing penny stocks like a bunch of morons. But anyway, guys, happy holidays. Spreading a little bit of my normal Tiny Wayne Christmas cheer. It is Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. Would like to thank, of course, the great Keen's Tam. I'm probably messing up your name again. 976. This is ridiculous. Effective December 24th, IOVA had an increase 2 million shares on the short. Total 36% short interest before earnings already at 33 at a buck 72. And that's my point, guys. I look for a few things on a short that is just absolute foolishness, and one of those things is just very simply shorting off the lows. I mean, when I see they just short it all the way down in a controlled burn and then they just don't stop shorting at the lows, it's like, okay, and I can prove what I'm saying. It's not like I just make this stuff up, guys. I'm always going back to data. Anything I say, as idiotic and as chubby and as stupid as it might sound, believe it or not, it's all most of the time based in, real data and sound logic. So if you look at 23rd September, this is the release date of the official short report. This is data that's reported. So this is pretty accurate, if sometimes a little bit underreported. But early October, late September, you've got 65 million shares shorted, about 21%. And this climbs to 24%, 27%, 31%, 34%, 35%, 35%. And as Keenstam 9576 8675301 just pointed out, this keeps climbing. Now, if you look at live short interest today, they shorted almost another million shares today. So they've shorted 126 million shares, or over 37% of the float. And in my experience, this live data on Ortex is actually more accurate because there just seem to be like pulling more sources and playing a little bit more from the hip, but trying to stay a little bit more current, because so often on these stocks that are being shorted and shorted and shorted, Ortex is way behind the curve. So that live short, like the free float, as Keynes was talking about, is showing about 35.5%. That's before today's data. So you tack on another million shares, showing about 122, where the live data was showing 125. And again, in my experience, that tends to be more accurate. It's more current, but it's also could be a little bit more margin for error in terms of that data. Here's the deal, guys. I'm not. This needs the spark to short squeeze. It's not just going to short squeeze on its own because they turned in some good lung cancer data, but if you look at the chart, you look at where the big boys were buying, you look at the level of shorting. Listen, insiders own about 18% of the company. Institutions own another 60% of the company. Okay, that's 78% of the company. So probably maximum retail owns about 20% of the stock. When you consider there are some other buyers in there that don't necessarily qualify as insiders or institutions, but they're not weak, paper-handed, tiny wang retail investors such as yourselves. All right. Okay, guys, let's Poco. What's going on? Clap my dog. Jarrett Matson, what's going on? Keen's Tam, of course. Great Keen's Tam has joined us since the beginning. An IOVA insider. Got his entire life savings, tied up in this stock. We've got to pump it, Keynes. We've got to pump this turd for both our sakes. We're desperate. We're desperate. He has a little well-groomed goatee. I have a weird, fat guy beard. Look like I was born to go to Ren fairs. Dress up as one of those fat guys eating a giant turkey leg. Something along those lines. I can't read, guys. I don't have my intermediate. I don't have my intermediates. What am I gonna do? I left my intermediates at the office. Oh, I love the Jerky Boys, guys. Un poco mas, indeed. Nicholas Carde 8616. What's going on? Been a while, Jarrett Matson. Hope you're doing well. As I remember, you're long-haired young kid. Got your whole life ahead of you, wide-eyed, investing in cryptos, playing electric guitar, trying to get ladies to take a ride on your motorcycle down at the cat club. Oh, those were the days. Anyway, guys, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but just add it up. I mean, are these institutions going to dump? And look what institutions have been doing. I mean, so I realize that the institutional ownership has been down slightly from the highs, but that can be expected sometimes with these walkdowns. There was a lot of financial pressure on the company, but they got a new CFO. They implemented, extensive cost-cutting measures, and their cash runway doesn't look that bad right now. Now, definitely they're going to have to raise money again if they don't get a partnership, but there's a couple of very, very exciting things on the horizon. I'm not just saying, okay, the stock is heavily shorted, therefore it's going to be a short squeeze, therefore you should buy this. You should buy the stock on the merits of the company. I mean, they already have FDA approval for melanoma for their drug. And this is critical to understand what, this BTD, they got approval under BTD for melanoma. So it's an accelerated approval. You work much closer with its breakthrough therapy designation, I think is what it stands for. But the FDA basically works with you because there's a severe unmet need, and the FDA sees great promise in what you're doing, and they don't want to sit around and wait for, another 3 to 5 years to go through phase 3 trials and approve your drug. They want to approve it on an expedited basis. So they already did approve the drug for melanoma, and they're going to have a smaller sample size than they would without BTD. So I'm not saying it's, any sure thing that they're going to get approval for, cervical cancer, endometrial cancer, some of these other cancers. And of course, you guys know about the very promising, data they recently got for lung cancer. Now, it was early, but these trials aren't all early. It's already, phase 3. They're already working with FDA on cervical cancer, which is not a minor thing at all. I think it's more prevalent than melanoma. Melanoma obviously occurring in both men and women, but I think cervical cancer kills more people. I have to go back and read, but it's a pretty big, market, unfortunately. You don't like to talk about cancer patients as markets, but, that's really what these drugs come down to, guys. Neo is up nicely, Clap My Dog. I think Neo is going to go on a run to 10 here. I think everything's looking really good for Neo. Just get a partner car, one partner car announced, actually in engineering, something on the calendar for like 2027. Throw me a bone. Give me a freaking partner car. Give me sharks with laser beams. Just give me a freaking partner car, What do you want me to do, grovel? The government push one of these turds to make a goddamn Neo swap car already? Get on it. Anyway, so yeah, I'm buying every share of IOVA that I can afford. I just think the price is ridiculous, and the pipeline is worth a lot, and they're also doing all these trials with Pembro. All these are already in at least phase 2. And then they have other stuff in phase 1. They're looking at, gene editing within the cell. They got all kinds of promising stuff going on for multiple cancers, and their science is quite frankly amazing. I don't know exactly how this stuff works, but basically a doctor removes a solid tumor. They take some of the cells out of the tumor. They have a special proprietary process where they amplify and make billions of this types of cells that your body should be making or is making to fight the cancer, but it just can't make enough. So your body, you just get this huge, natural response that comes in and, wipes out these solid tumor cancers. And as soon as they put these cells in the body, it knows exactly which cancer cells to attack. And it doesn't just attack one specific cancer cell, it attacks, a broad range of cancer cells. So this is incredible stuff. I mean, the science here is, again, it's a bit early, and it's not, but I would argue it's getting to the point where it is proven. I mean, the safety profile seems to be really good. And that lung cancer data they just came out with, I realize it's a very small sample size. Everybody's pointed that out. But it could be a game changer, as the kids say. Yeah, I want to do a prop vid. Here's the thing. I think there was some insider buying, but I can't really figure out why there was that big a pop on this, other than it's just, that was a big artificial push down on the chart. I think it's really technical. I think it's the old spring and the butt crack, tickling the old dark star, if you know what I mean. I think you do, judging by the looks of this crowd. What do you know? It's the front man of Billy Jack and the Butt Crack Boys. Billy Jack himself coming at us, our Texarkana. What's going on, Billy Jack? Billy Jack? Monday night in Arkansas, we eat Gordon's fish sticks, vinegar, and salt potato chip. Hey, man, nothing better than a nice, crispy fish stick. I mean, I know, like, a lot of people think that's not classy, but I would disagree with them people. I used to love me some fish sticks. Get a little tartar sauce, a little malt vinegar. Oh, yeah. That's good living. Now that's uptown, like the Arroyo Diner. That's uptown. Anyway, guys, chase with a little whiskey. I put the plug in the jug many a year ago, but I cheers you virtually, Billy Jack. I'll cheers you with my agua fresca. Now that's some high quality H2O. Anyway, guys, what's up, SJ? Do you think maybe because there was whispers that the F shares have been refinanced? I would think if they knew that, it would almost double depending on what that refinancing looked like, because that's the entire argument for why this stock is trading at this absurdly low market cap, is that there's going to be like 5x dilution where your shares are going to be, worth a fifth of what they were worth. Everyone I talk to, the guy who turned me on to this stock, says, just don't worry. This is how these deals go. They're never that bad. And especially in this case, because they have the backing of some very big banks and institutions and other industry players. Just wait. Just buy that's what I was told, guys. I'm not an expert in this area. I've only invested in a few of these, small, producer stocks and oil and natural gas. And quite frankly, I haven't done that well with them. I just tried to be upfront about that. But hopefully this is the one that breaks the curse. But I know it's a 13% pop on prop, pop for prop. But looking at where it was coming from, like off of $1.50, it looked like they were trying to push to $1.50 and just sort of ran out of sellers. At a certain point, you can't get the thing to a negative market cap. So these walk downs, that's what I mean about these walk downs, is I feel like sometimes they don't know, when to cover. And if you look at, the funds shorting IOVA, I haven't done this actually, but in a little while, it's probably still the same. So there's not that many filings. So, it just begs the question, did they cover? Why wouldn't? And could that be, letting the price finally go up a little bit? The price hasn't really gone up on. I'm talking about prop. I'm talking about IOVA. I'm getting it's totally mixed up in my head. Sorry, guys. I actually haven't slept that much, believe it or not. But so let me put prop aside and go back to IOVA. But if you look at where these guys were shorting from, 566, $10. Obviously, I think these were the people walking the stock down. But then if you look at the longs, you have to ask yourself, what do these longs know? Because if you look at some of these major holders, such as MHR Fund, average cost $7.18. BlackRock just added last quarter 11%, and their average cost is $9. Vanguard, average cost $12. State Street added 35%. Their average cost is $12.20. So, I mean, the Iovance, only a couple buyers sort of got in, what you'd consider at the right time. You look at Goldman Sachs, they had 38% to their position, trying to average down. Their average cost is still $8.28. So they were obviously buying a lot of shares at $12. Are these guys idiots, or is this the strategy? They walk it down to nothing, and then they're going to buy all the shares right at the bottom and then, I believe run the stock up. And I think it's all coordinated with the shorts. They get out, they get in, they go long. You see Janes do this a lot, where they're short the stock, and then I see them in the data moving to long, moving out of their straddle and strangle and all these, fun stuff they're doing while the stock, plugs along sideways at the bottom of the sewer. Like a decrepit rat, 3 legs, limping along looking for a piece of cheese on a cold, bleak Christmas. Probably just oversold RSI. Funny check prop back December 6, 2022. It also fell $1.58. Did the exact same thing this year. Yeah, I don't think they were really on it back then because it was just so... I didn't even really know it was public back then, to be honest with you. I only heard of the stock recently, so gotta be honest about that. But I don't question your knowledge, Keems Tam. Let's see. Cheese and whiskey. You're as sweet as Billy Jack and the Butt Crack Boys. You're as smooth as a toasted cheese sandwich. Yeah, let's do a prop video. This video's kind of run out of steam, but that's all I'm saying, guys. You could have just bought the stock at $1.60, and I also wanted to take a look at the chart because I think it's really kind of compelling. Obviously, this gap filled way back here, but I would argue, and I was arguing the other day, I had these lines drawn, the blue line and the red line, that the stock is in a bit of a wedge, and that was before it broke out because I hadn't done this, I hadn't actually drawn this. I hadn't redrawn this, I should say. The only line I put in here was this horizontal line, which kind of just is to illustrate the critical nature of this level. This was a big bounce of support here back in April, obviously broke down and has been resistance. It did this pump and dump, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. Then was resistance again here in August. Resistance bounced off here again on 19 August. Bounced off here again on 10 November. And then tried to break through, obviously just recently, has been sucked back down to the line, closed right about there. You notice it came all the way back down today below, I think, 270, and then recovered to the line. Volume was modest. It's a little bit of a modest mouse. Wasn't anything to write home about. Maybe send a postcard. Not a longhand letter. I don't know where those guys are. I don't make their hours. They're independent contractors. Like OnlyFans models. No, I haven't seen Birdie in like months and months. Not a lurker is usually here, but probably it's late and he's working. It's holidays. He's got family stuff and just better things to do, I hope. But anyway, chatted with Nala earlier. He was at an Asian bar getting a manicure or something. Where was he? Just sitting down in the massage district with Joey Forca, underboss of the mob district. He's like, and then the Hells Angels came to town. They thought they were going to take over. But underboss of the massage district, Joey Forca, had other ideas. I love those shows where they just have that super dramatic announcer. The doctor at the end of the cul-de-sac was hiding a secret. Unsolved mysteries. Anyway, yeah, I could have been getting a haircut. It's got a, it's quite a process. Believe me. I lend him my Vitamix. How I became Stubby Cohiba. Anyway, guys, I'm just looking at this chart and I'm saying, is this going to give up here and pull back? There's no more room left in the wedge. The wedge is done. I mean, wedgies are what they are. You pull a guy's underwear up over his head and the stock can still go down. But I just see a very clear uptrend here coming off of this low down at $1.60. Makes another low at $1.72, then $1.90. Breaks down here to $1.75, but this was quite an anomaly, and it came back with just a massive, massive volume day. If you remember this one, 84 million. I don't know what the hell's going on. I can't remember all these data points. But I think so you're in a longer-term uptrend here up to this, making this low at 212. And then you're obviously in a short-term, spike. But volume dies a bit, but it doesn't die completely. And quite frankly, today was a very algorithmic-looking day. I don't think there's any... No, you have to be an idiot to want to sell this stock here. Because you're shorting, breakthrough, innovative, novel cures for cancer that look extremely promising. And the only thing they have going against them was cash burn, and they've really instituted, cost savings, reduction measures, and okay, the ramp for melanoma isn't as fast as you'd like, but this is their first ramp. This is their first approved product under a breakthrough therapy designation. I mean, it's incredible. And they have another breakthrough therapy they're going back and forth with FDA right now on cervical cancer. They get that. They're going to get melanoma approval in Canada. They're going to get melanoma approval in UK. People are saying, are they going to get it in Australia? It's so expensive. On the backline therapies, there's no alternative. This stuff cures people who nothing else cures. What is that worth? What kind of micro turtle wang do you have to short this stock? It's just me. Let's see. That was earnings after the fake out in November when it pumped, and today was just an overall down day across the entire stock market. Keynes, but look at this charting. I mean, they were definitely had a hard on for, $1.75, $1.79. I mean, you see it right here. I mean, it's Algo holding at exactly a penny interval, 74 to 76. Clearly got at least a semi for, and possibly a full hard on for 275. But it's just not happening. You see these big buys come in here. What is that? 1.5 million share buy? 1.5 million share buy? I mean, I don't know. Could be a sell. Could be a fugaze. But big buys coming off the bottom here. Again, if Goldman Sachs is averaging 8 or 9 and Vanguard's averaging 12, is it logical the smart money was dumping down at $1.60 or under 3 when they're averaging down aggressively, the smartest of the smart money? I don't know. And this is just one spark away. All the conditions are there, guys. 37%, could be maybe 35%, but up to 37% of the free float shorted. 60% institutional ownership, 18% insider ownership. Just do the math. If there's a huge run on these shares, there's going to be a short squeeze, and it's going to go up fast because there's just not a lot of shares. And you have to think it's going to squeeze back near those average costs of the big boys. It usually does. I mean, I'm not saying the stock's going to 5x or anything, 3x, 2x overnight, but 40, 50% in short order, even if 10% of those, 37%, even just driving the short back down to where it was 5 months ago at 21%, that would be 15, 16% covering of the whole free float. So you're going to be talking about, 40 million, 50 million shares? I don't know. The hell do I know? I was told there would be no math. And I was told there would be free pizza, damn it. But life is a long series of disappointments, disillusionments. Christmas for me with a TV dinner and a steel-toe boot to the face. Keen Stam has tons of useful information. This guy's like one of those kiosks that says, "You are here." It's like, just ground us. Just tell us directions. Give us some facts, Keen Stam. 976. Be careful. I'm going to give you a wrench. Give you a job. Put you to work. Giving people some actual facts. An Earl and an OAB. He said he finished with a Wet Willie. Oh, the Wet Willie. It's a classic. The Purple Nurple. All that fun stuff. Anyway, guys, I'm losing my voice. I got to pee. I'm sick of this stock. Maybe I'll try to figure out, maybe I'll confer with Keen's Tam, somebody actually intelligent and who actually knows something, and I'll figure out what happened with Prop, and I'll lift his ideas, and then I'll present them as my own, as I want to do. The big fat fraud that I am. Guys, they do call me Stog Karen. They call me Hurricane Lopez. They call me the Tugboat. They call me MC Al Dente. They call me DJ Apache Drizzle. They've been known to call me Stubby Cohiba. Of course, they call me Little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo because I'm moist, I'm doughy, and I crumble under pressure. Guys, thanks so much for watching the Keen's Tam 976 show, and thank you for subscribing to Billy Jack and the Butt Crack Boys. This has been Danny Deals and the Truck Stop All Stars. The Backseat Boys. No, I hope not. Why does everything have to be gay on this show? Everything's either a tiny wing or it's gay with a tiny wing. I don't know. I don't think I'm gay, but I am gay friendly, and I do like to party. Take that as you will. Anyway, I'm still working on the O'Neill Family Trust. Just keeps buying. Yeah, I've noticed that. Wait, that's Prop or that's IOVA? That's IOVA. Prop is another guy. That's that Australian guy, Brian Prop, I think. Some playboy. Thanks, Billy Jack. Appreciate it. Chris, P90X, and your vascular back definition. Chris is so vascular. Any of you guys notice how vascular Chris is getting? I noticed, actually. I did notice. I was in the locker room doing some P90X. Guy's extremely vascular. You look like that dude who does that show about Las Vegas. I think I said this already. Maybe you are that dude. There's this one influencer guy who does this Las Vegas insider show, and he's like pretty ripped. He's like a good-looking young kid. You know, again, I'm not gay, but I may have tendencies. But he's always flexing. Like he's talking like, here's the hotel room, here's how you get into the pool. And he's just like in full, just fully oiled up, got a pump, just sniffing that stuff they do right before they power lift. Dude, if you got to sniff those like inhalants to make your lift, maybe just don't max out. Maybe just go for a few more reps. I used to be like a psychotic gym guy. I realized I was completely psychotic. It's just injuring myself permanently for no reason. Do I really need to be able to lift up an economy car? No, I don't. I went to college. But anyway. Lots of recent filings. You go to Prairie's site, O'Neill Family Trust. Good information, Chris. I'll check out the insider buys, and we'll maybe do a prop video here soon, guys. But I really appreciate you watching. Seriously, I'm super serial. I do appreciate it. It's Un Poco Mas. Even though they're not here, I do appreciate Alberto Berti Avalas, and I do appreciate, of course, the great Jay Money, the great Not a Lurker, because they're always here with us in spirit. A bald man is always here, just like the Buddha. Anyway, guys, appreciate it. Peace. I'm out. Thank you.